Hi there, this is Shruti. Welcome to a part 3 of How to Start a Blog series. Now, if you haven't watched part 1 and part 2, I'm going to link them down in the description box below as well as somewhere in the video. So make sure to go check them out first and then come back and watch this video. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can structure a blog post in order for it to actually show up on search engines such as Google so that you can make sure that the right audience is able to find you as well as come back and check out your blog. So before we dive into the tutorial, I just want to walk you through the 3 core elements of any blog post which you need to think of when you are creating your outline. Number 1, your blog post needs to have an introduction, and your blog post ideally needs to have a keyword which is located inside the introduction as well. Now, a keyword is any word or phrase or a bunch of words that your audience is searching for that you hope to rank for and be visible for after creating your blog post. Part 2 of a blog post is going to be your body. This is going to be the meat of your blog post. This is going to be the tips, the hacks, the tutorial, or anything else that you plan to share within your blog post. And part 3 is going to be your conclusion, which ideally should also have a call to action. Now, a call to action simply means, what do you want your reader to do next? Do you want them to check out another blog post? Do you want them to check out a training? Do you want them to click on an affiliate link? Irrespective of what your call to action is, it really helps to have that in advance so that when you are creating the outline of your blog post, you have these 3 critical parts already ready to go. And with that, let's dive into the tutorial. Okay, so let's walk through an example of a blog post which basically describes how it should be structured. And of course, this I'm editing on WordPress. So as long as you're using WordPress as your content management system, this should be relevant to you. Okay, so as you can see, it starts with the title, which is 11 most romantic holidays for couples in Europe. And then I have a small disclaimer here which says this post may contain affiliate links, which means I'll receive a commission if you purchase through my link at no extra cost to you. Now, you may or may not need an affiliate disclaimer based on where you are located in the world. If you are, for example, showing up in front of US or European audiences, you usually need a disclaimer to do so. So depending on where you are, you may or may not need it. And then I have a pin which is embedded within this blog post that I can save this blog post also on Pinterest. And then we come to the introduction part, right? So this is where we introduce, why is it that we're creating this blog post? So what is the reason behind it, and sort of just to kind of to softly go into the exact blog post that we have planned, right? And I mentioned here you can use this list as a reference guide while planning your honeymoon, your next romantic holiday, or just to whisk away your partner for the weekend, right? And then you're going to see that the same title that we had in the beginning is sort of repeated here again, but in a different format. So instead of romantic holidays for couples, we've written 11 most romantic European destinations. This is basically when you take a keyword that you have and you change it a little bit in order to make sure that it's showing up in the blog post, right? Again, these are going to be different tags. So this is going to be the title tag, right? Which is here, which is usually H1 in a post. And then these tags are going to be H2. And then this is going to be H3 or H2, depending on how you basically tag your post. Now, again, the hierarchy of tags is really something that makes sure that your blog post shows up on Google in the right way. So if you're looking to learn more about SEO and learn more about how you can create searchable content, I would recommend checking out my free masterclass where I walk you through specifically how to pick keywords and exactly what that looks like when you are researching content ideas. The link is going to be in the description box below. And after I list out, the name, which is Cinque Terre, Italy, then I have an image of the same thing. And now you might wonder, why do I have an image here instead of text? The reason being that I like to break up all the text blocks because it's a long post. Anything, let's say over 1,000, 1,500 words, it's good to break up the text with a little bit of images so that your audience can actually have fun while reading the blog post and it's not a boring essay, right? And then we go into the body format, right? So this is basically where we start the body of the blog post, right? So again, you'll find one more subheading here, which is on all about romantic things to do. So first I talk about introducing, the location, and then where does it come from, a little bit of the history. And then I specifically go into what are the romantic things to do in that region, right? And then I've also linked another post about Italy within this blog post because I feel like the audience that's interested and researching about this post might also be interested in having more posts about Italy. And then we have San Sebastian, Spain, and then kind of a similar format. Like you can see there's an image, and then there's another subheading, and then there is the body format, right? And this is how we basically have the body section all the way until we cover the top 11 destinations. And again, what's important here is to make sure that you are optimizing your blog post for your reader. So number 1, make sure to have lots of headings and make sure that those headings are in the hierarchy that you want Google to have them in. And you can also check out a lot of free SEO guides. For example, most.com offers a great SEO guide. You can check that out if you want to learn more about, H1 and H2 tags and all of that. that. And again, you can also split the text into bullet points, or you can just kind of, make sure that you are adding lots of spaces and you're not writing large chunks of text with like 1,000 words squeezed into one paragraph, because you want to make it as easy as possible for your reader to be able to understand and skim through your blog post. Because let's be honest, most of your audience is actually not going to go and read the entire blog post. They're probably just going to skim through it and kind of see the most important points and move around and click around and so on and so forth, right? So we basically scroll down all the way. So as you can see, it's quite a long blog post, about 11, which is Bruges in Belgium. And then what's also important to note here is that I don't just kind of abruptly end the blog post. I also give a small kind of call to action or conclusion. So here I say, okay, I hope you enjoyed this roundup of the top 11 most romantic cities for couples in Europe. Let us know in the comments where you are headed, right? So this is what I have. And then I add a couple of more resources and I list out a couple of other blog posts as well as some affiliate links, which might be interesting for my audience, right? And again, this just kind of goes into related post section here and so on and so forth. What's important here to note is the structure of this blog post, which one has three main parts. So it has the introduction, it has the body, and then it has the conclusion. But the more important thing here to note is how it is structured in a way that it would be optimized for search engine optimization. So let's go to the title, and that is 11 most romantic holidays for couples in Europe. And let's just search how many times have this, come up. So have I written this word more than once? And why have I done that? So you can find this is once, and then we have 2, and then 3 times. So this is showing up as the exact keyword as most romantic holidays 3 times, because I want Google to understand that there is keyword density, which means that there is a lot of related keywords happening, which means that it is a very, very relevant blog post for anyone who is searching for romantic holidays, right? And again, this will totally depend on what the focus keyword of your blog post is, which is going to be a phrase that you focus on. So let's go on editing this post and see what suggestions we get when we use a free plugin. And the plugin that I'm using here, and I recommend my students to use, which is free, is called Yoast SEO. And you can basically use it to kind of improve your SEO analysis and really see whether or not you're checking off the main things that you can. It doesn't have to be that you check off everything, so you won't always have, everything checked off, but you can have as much as possible, green lights, so that you can make sure that there's a chance for your blog post to rank. So once you have installed the plugin called Yoast SEO, which is a free plugin, you also can upgrade to the pro plan, but I don't use that, and I don't really think you need it, especially if you're using a keyword tool and you're good to go. So as you can see, the focus key phrase here is romantic holidays for couples in Europe, and I have also added a slug. So the slug is basically the URL, and then I have a meta description here, right? So this is a description of what somebody can expect when they are reading this blog post. And as you can see, the description again has romantic holidays for couples in Europe, which is also our focus keyword, right? So that's our key phrase. And then when you click through to SEO analysis, you'll be able to see lots of things that you can either improve or change, making sure that your post has a better and better chance to rank. Now, I want to be honest here and say that even though Yoast tries its best to give you these prompts, just because you have done all of these things, it doesn't mean that you are automatically going to show up in Google search. So it doesn't mean that just because you have made sure that your blog post is optimized, you're going to show up, because there are also many other things that go into, making sure that you are ranking on Google. And again, this is something I cover a lot inside my program, CEO Blogger Academy. And the best way for you to get started is check out my free masterclass, where I walk you through how keyword strategy exactly works, right? So as you can see, you can basically go through the red and orange improvements and see if there are certain ways that you can do to kind of make sure that, you're adding these keywords in. So let's say we want to add the key phrase in introduction, right? So while you're editing this blog post, you can simply just see that you want to have romantic holidays for couples in Europe in the first paragraph. So even if you mention it in, let's say, the first, couple of sentences, it's a little bit down there. Google is not going to really understand that, or at least the Yoast SEO plugin won't. So what we can do is that we can actually make sure that it's being said in the top first 2 to 3 sentences itself, right? So let's talk about Europe has some of the most romantic destinations. In this post, I will share the most romantic holidays for couples in Europe. And then again, we'll have to see whether or not that gives us the green light in SEO on Yoast to make sure that we actually did what the plugin wanted us to do, right? The most romantic holidays for couples in Europe, right? Okay. And I also can just move it to the beginning of this blog post, because I think then it will make more sense as I go into describing more about Europe and so on and so forth, right? So when we go down, we can see whether or not that worked and is it still continuing to be a problem at Yoast SEO. So you can see, okay, that worked, that's great. Now key phrase density again means how many times this key phrase has been found. So even though I have been using it in different formats, maybe I have to use it a little bit more in the exact same way that we use it in our key phrase. So let's say romantic holidays let's see where romantic holidays show up, and we can just basically add, the small couples in Europe. So basically just added a couple of places to make sure that it's showing up. Romantic holidays. So again, I'm searching for romantic holidays because I know that it's being used a lot, right? So it's something that is being used a lot, and I can basically just add it wherever it makes sense. So I've made sure now that the key phrase density is high enough. Again, this is being done deliberately to show you exactly how you can make small changes in your blog post to ensure that you get the green light here, right? So as you can see, we already have the green light. You can just stop here, or you can go and start working a little bit more if you want. You can add them in your subheading. You can add some, all of these different things that you can do. And again, Yoast also has really excellent blog posts. So you can just check out the blog from Yoast and see what exactly each of these things means and exactly how to optimize for your blog, right? And again, here you have options on WordPress, whether or not you want this post to be public, when you want it to be published. So you can basically select the date wherever you want it to be published. You can reset it if you want to, kind of bring the date forward. I will not reset the date because I like that it is already aged and it's already been done before. So it's an old post. And visibility is public, which means that it's going to be posted to everyone. You can select the author here, whoever the author is, right? And again, you can just go through and make sure that everything that you have here is correct. So you want to be making sure that the category that you have tagged is correct. Tags is something that I generally skip because I don't like confusing, the algorithm with too much data. So I don't necessarily use tags. I do, however, often recommend a featured image. Again, this is going to depend on the theme that you're using on your blog. Some themes like to have a vertical image, some themes like to have a long image. So depending on what kind of theme you're using, this might differ, but make sure that you have a new featured image for every single blog post that you create. And in the image description, you add the title of the blog post so that Google knows whenever that image shows up on search engines that it's going to be linked to this particular blog post, right? And when you're ready, you can just update your blog post and basically see if all the changes have been done. So when we go to preview, we can see all of the changes that have already been done. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you're going to love my free masterclass where I break down the 3 secret strategies that are working for profitable bloggers right now and how you can leverage them to start a blog that not only looks pretty, but actually makes bank in the long run and turns into your full-time business. I'm going to leave the link to that masterclass in the description box below. So make sure to check it out after you're done watching this video. As always, like and subscribe to this channel for more such videos. Stay tuned for the next video in this series, and I'll see you around.